Coming to you from the Bombay Presidency Golf Club this sunny morning just ahead of the budget, and let's find out what the golfers who've been here since early morning are expecting from the Finance Minister today. Joining me right now, I've got Mr. Shashank Sandhu, who is the director at Sandhu Pharma. There's also Kabir Keval Ramani, who is joining in from Berggruen Holdings, as well as Mr. Anil Sareen, CIO at Centrum PMS. Gentlemen, good morning. What a lovely morning it is right here on the golf course in Chambur. Do you think that it'll be as smooth sailing when it comes to the budget this time around from the Finance Minister? What is it that you want to see or hear?
What we expect from the MSME sector is most of the investments which we are expecting in the MSME sectors are required for technology upgradation, and also in terms of the WHO GMP, which is going to be a major thing. The Prime Minister wants to make in India a big event and a big initiative for which a lot of technology upgradations are required. And the MSME sector is under dire strain for the last couple of years because there is no new investments which have come up in the MSME sector.
When it comes to the overall climate as well in India right now, we are looking at growth hanging on a balance, if you will. It's a tough fiscal situation. So at a time like this, do you think that the Finance Minister will deviate from fiscal consolidation right now to boost growth?
I would think so. There are a lot of voices which are arguing for taking a furlough from this fiscal consolidation path that we have, because they say a tough time call for tough measures. So I would not at all be surprised if there is some kind of a relaxation, and there are provisions for having that kind of a relaxation as far as the fiscal situation is concerned.
What about you, Kabir? Anything in particular?
I think principally I feel we need to boost investment.
Right.
Public and private.
Right. Because the environment has been subdued, would you agree?
Hugely. So the biggest issue is after ILFS, frankly, the entire credit flow in the business, more in the MSME side, has just dried up completely. So you're talking about 80% shrinkage on that side.
Yes.
So that needs to kind of be elevated in some way or form. And without that, without credit flow, it won't work. And frankly, if you don't get the private and public investments going, I think employment is going to be a huge issue. And that needs to be addressed. That has to be the structural focus, according to me at least.
Okay. There's a lot of expectations from the market standpoint. Everyone's crossing their fingers as to what the Finance Minister could do when it comes to tinkering with taxes, LTCG, DDT, even the personal income tax slabs. So is there anything that you're expecting on that front?
I think, if you ask me, I think on the long-term capital gain tax, the government hasn't got much out of it. So frankly, if they actually do roll it back, or at least they make it from a 1-year window to a 3-year window, which is what they're talking about, I feel it'll really send a very strong signal, and it'll really push equity investors. It all moves towards improving sentiment. Is my guess. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do something on that side. That'll be really good news, if you ask me.
Are you expecting anything on the taxation front, some sort of a tinkering by the Finance Minister?
Yeah, it would suit the optics. It is as Kabir mentioned, it's not generated a whole lot of revenue. Right. So letting go of that would be a feel-good kind of a move without really damaging the fiscal balance in any shape or form. So yeah, it boosts the sentiment.
Okay. There was that off-budget corporate tax cut that did take place. It definitely cheered the markets, but of course had an impact on the overall revenue figure. Do you think that has been taken down by corporate India very well? It was a much-needed step. How have you rated the corporate tax cut?
I think it's a huge, it was a big move.
Right.
The problem is it hasn't gone back to the people who need it, because you need it in the MSME side. They've struggled. So it hasn't freed up cash flow for them. Right. So, but structurally, we've come back to what global norms are, which is very important. I thought it's actually something that really has kept the markets also buoyant over a long period of time. I think it's been one of the best moves by the government in a long time.
And also to add to that, the FDI this year, which is it has been slow globally, but for India, we are seeing a big increase as far as the FDI is concerned, and I think the reduced corporate tax rate has a role to play in that.
So from the MSME sector, even though there was a reduction, the actual flow has not been benefited at all, because there are too many riders for that tax cut which has been announced. So had there been no riders, then probably it would have been a direct benefit flowing into the MSME sector.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot of other sectors that are in dire need of, attention from the government. Infrastructure, for instance, the overall public transportation. When we talk to the Aam Aadmi, those are the sectors that they want to see some initiative from the government in. How do you think that we've fared so far? What do you think is the sentiment right now in terms of overall demand and infrastructure growth? What would you like to see?
So I think that's a two-pronged thing, because the government is taking steps, right? So they are pushing huge amount of money into infrastructure and development and so on and so forth. The problem is a lot of the balance sheets of the companies that are going to implement that are very stretched still. And they're not being able to get the credit. So if they don't get the credit, they're not going to be able to implement that. And that just results in a huge amount of issues, especially on the employment side.
Yes.
These are the biggest employment generating sectors,
Of
right?
course.
So I guess that sort of ties into this, the long-term plan which has recently been announced. So what the government wants to do on a long-term basis has been announced, and maybe a little bit more granularity would be welcome. What is an open issue is how do you finance that? I mean, the breakup between the private sector and the public sector at one level. But out there, if we can have a government entity disinvestment plan, which is time-bound, which is specific, which is not influenced by the state of the market or the state of the public mood. If you can do that, then you would have found a solution to funding this kind of a heavy investment in infrastructure. And it's very, very well known, well documented that infrastructure has a lot of downstream benefits, not only for the Aam Aadmi, it is for the whole country as a whole.
When it comes to the startup world as well, is there anything that you would want to see on that front? There has been, with respect to some leeway on the angel tax. Is there anything that you want to see on that front?
So I think the government has made some steps. I think one of the things that I keep hearing, especially when we talk about the startup fund and so on and so forth, they'd like the disbursement to be easier and quicker and just more efficient. I have to confess, I'm not really big in that business.
I understand.
I'm a step away, but that's one thing that I've kind of heard from people. We also want stronger policy, longer term vision as to what's going to end up happening.
Okay.
And also on the taxation, as far as startups are concerned, the right entity for that, eligible startups, they need to have gone, monetized within 7 years. They need not, for enjoying these benefits, they need to get out of that phase within 7 years. But what we have seen in India is that projects take longer. To break even, typically whatever would happen in the West, it happens with a lag, or it takes longer in India. As such, the 7 years, if you can extend that to maybe 10 years, that would act as an impetus for further investment in startups.
I think that's a very important point.
Yeah, because even in the pharma and more so in the Ayush sector, the break-even when you're talking in terms of getting clearances, license, registration is not before 3.5 to 4 years. And then you're talking in terms of getting the tax breaks or the exits, a very, very difficult proposition.
Okay, so let's wind it up by just getting a rating on 10. From the finance minister, what do you think the budget is going to be like on 10 if you had to be, giving your expectation? You want it to be 10, but what do you think we'll actually see? Let's talk reality.
I don't think I'm...
Would you be optimistic that we'd see something?
I don't think we have a choice. I think the budget has to come up with something reasonable this time.
We need it now. What about you?
I would give anywhere above 8 or 8.5, because that is the only way forward. There is no other way.
And Anil?
No, I think if you can solve for real estate, if you can solve for NBFCs, and if you can solve for a very robust way, time-bound kind of a plan for the government to get out of business, at least in terms of disinvestment, if you can do these three things, it would be a 10 on 10. as far as I'm concerned.
So let's keep our fingers crossed that all those sectors and all those points that you spoke of actually do come about at 11 a.m. from the Finance Minister. And with that, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much.